Good afternoon, good evening, 49er faithful, wherever you may be, whether you are in the Midwest getting ready to go to Wisconsin, whether you're on the East Coast, whether you are in Texas, as my co-host of Between Two Beards is Randon McMahon. How are you doing tonight, Randon? Most importantly, how was watching the game against the Dallas Cowboys in Texas?
Yeah, we'll go over the first part. I'm doing all right. Just a lot of errands today, going to the grocery store, all that kind of stuff, prepping for this. So, I'm in obviously a hoodie and repping the Niners, still rubbing it in as I'm out and about getting groceries. So,
yes,
it was good. But yeah, I was the only Niner fan in this bar. This bar is pretty big, and I thought at least I know the manager there, or one of the managers is a Niners fan. So I thought he would at least be there, but maybe he was at the game. But yeah, I was the only one, and I got there early because I knew it was going to be busy in Dallas, and just I stuck out just like all the Niners fans stuck out at the stadium, just the only bright red person there, and I was wearing my Bosa jersey, and I made sure that they knew that I was attending that bar. That's for sure.
As you should. Now, were you getting a lot of grief to begin with? Because videos that I saw showed a very, very cocky Cowboys fan base that going into this game, they really thought they had the edge and were boisterous in saying so.
Yeah, my good friend Tommy, he went with me, and he's a Dallas fan, and he was talking a lot of smack. And then this one random guy kept coming up to our table from almost halfway across the bar just to smack talk me. And then, so I have no problem giving it back, and so trying to figure out where that line is of not getting hit versus just being respectful. And I towed it pretty good, I guess, and it was pretty good there, and we're having fun and all that kind of stuff. But until the game started, and then they weren't having as much fun.
No, it started in the 49ers' favor and quickly became clear that it was not a good day for Cowboys fans. So let's get into it, because I know we have a lot of topics to get through and not too much time to do it. So let's talk about that blockbuster game. I mean, for me, it was a wild one that when I rewatched it, I was really struck by how good the first half was by the 49ers. That paled when you finish the game, right? The recency bias left me feeling very bad about that Dallas win, that you celebrated it, you moved on in the playoffs, but at the same time, it felt like it almost slipped away. It was relief. It wasn't complete joy. It was relief. But when I went back and rewatched that first half, I really was struck by just how dominant the San Francisco 49ers were, and it gave me confidence going forward. And that's where I choose to draw the most from that game, is the 49ers being on down and distance, moving the ball, converting on third downs, getting the run game going, and dominating in that first half. But what were some of your takeaways from the game, Randon?
Yeah, there's some stuff here. The audience on television peaked at over 50.2 million people to watch this game, which has been the most of any wild card game, I think, years, if I remember the stat. So a lot of people came to watch this game. Obviously, huge fan bases for both the Cowboys and the Niners. So it seemed like the matchup. And when you went down and looked at the other games, maybe the only other one that you thought could have been a doozy was Buffalo Patriots, because they had some decent battles. Maybe Rams, Arizona, but for the most part, I mean, everybody was looking towards this game, and it delivered for the most part. To start the game out, like you said, it was the cleanest first drive beatdown that I have seen the Niners have all year. They had 1 second down the whole drive. It was just first down after first down after first down, and then punch it in for a 4-yard run. It looked like the Niners were facing a high school team out there, and it was okay, all right, Jimmy's cooking, the run game's cooking. Here we go. And then 3 and out with the emphatic sack from Bosa on that nice stunt. And I'm just man, I'm standing up, I'm standing by my desk, flaunting the jersey. And that bar, I'm sure just like the stadium was a freaking morgue. And everybody was oh no, the Niners came to play. Our first round woes as Cowboy fans are continued. Then, we started to get 3 straight field goals. And then I'm thinking to myself, we're still only 2 scores up.
Right.
And it seems like we've dominated a lot more than we did from a score standpoint. And then the play that's got us multiple times this season, that slot fade to Cooper, he just roasted the DB wide open, beautiful dime. Davante Adams in week 3, beat us on that route. You have a couple other guys, Cooper Kupp beat us on that route a couple times this year. And so that's been the Achilles heel for those big plays coming out of the slot. And it just felt like a different game going into the half, especially since they had an opportunity for that Madden double up, receiving the ball coming out of the halftime.
Yeah, I thought that fade to Cooper was, something that was a bit of a matchup nightmare. I'm not wanting K'Wan Williams out there in man coverage on Amari Cooper in that one. That seems to me like a loss right there at the line of scrimmage, unless you've got maybe Ambry Thomas, who has shown the ability to run with receivers, or Jimmy Ward in that one-on-one matchup. I wouldn't have been comfortable with any of our defensive backs.
But really, Jimmy Ward got roasted by a Kupp.
He did.
In Week 18. Yeah.
He did. I think the shiftier players are more of a problem for Jimmy Ward, although he's done a good job matching up against Cooper Kupp. You know, when you're best on best, all you can hope to do is win some of the battles, lose some of the battles. That's not, the worst of it. To me, the positive of the second half, which is hard to do, it's hard to draw any freaking positives out of the second half of this game. But to me, it is this battle-tested term that we throw around, because I believe that Kyle Shanahan has a history of tightening up in these clutch games. It's evidenced by some of the big losses, unfortunately, that have come his way in some of the biggest moments in the postseason. And I believe, from someone who my experience with high-pressure situations is sitting at a poker table, pushing all my chips into the middle and feeling my heartbeat just start to race. You feel it. You know that everything's on the line. You've made your move. You're waiting for the counter punch, and your heart rate goes through the roof. And you're not thinking straight, right? You're not doing the same math on what hand you may have and what the outs are and everything like that. But the more of those high pressure situations you are in, the less they stress you. So my hope is that Kyle Shanahan, in gaining this experience, and this time around in gaining that experience without actually losing the game, is helping him become more clutch. And we need that going forward in this postseason.
Yeah, Liar in the chat says he's all in on 2-7 offsuit, where Shanahan tends to fold pocket kings. His sphincter tends to tighten a little bit in the later games. And it, just like the whole Niner season, this game was messy. Like there's been some parts of the Niner season where like we're on high cloud 9 and we're riding high. And then, you have times where it's just been really messy. This whole season's been that way with the Lance Jimmy stuff, with the injuries, with, how we've lost to some teams that we shouldn't have lost to, and how we've won to teams and came up and beat the Bengals. And so it's just been like an up and down year for them. And if you look at like the key moments, like there was key moments that moved the needle in the second half that weren't necessarily the good play, right? You had the haunting of the ghost of Norman on the special teams, giving up the first down in the fake punt, even though they called a protection and not a return. The lack of the passing game, I think there was a little over 30 yards in the second half. The INT, we had multiple penalties on the offensive line from players like Kittle and Trent Williams that slowed or stalled drives. And then you had, on the flip side, the Cowboys had that weird play in the sunlight where that player was wide open.
Right,
and
Cedric
Wilson.
Wilson.
It just hit him. Cedric Wilson was wide open, and then it was just like, just a blinding high beam right in his eye, and they showed the camera view of it. It's like, there's no way he saw that ball.
No way.
They had 14 penalties. They were below 30% on third down. They were 1 and 2 on fourth down. Like, you had all these like difficulties on both teams. And the second half was almost like who could screw up less.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's what I was saying. It was like each team was trying to give it away, and it was who wanted to give away it more.
Yeah. It was just kind of a weird thing. You're like, come on, like we can't get a first down here. We can't do this here. And like after the Deebo touchdown, I was like, okay, maybe we put this game away with our defense and the run game. But then it was just like we couldn't get any offense going either. And then just some weird plays happened with the special teams, like I said. And then, like the play that ended the game, like that was a catchable ball. It was a little outside, but he wasn't covered. It wasn't like the DB made a good play. It was just a running outside, and he tossed it, and it was kind of like got him up in the air or whatever. But man, it just seemed like, like you said, who wanted to give away the game more in the second half, which is not the way you want to win. Yeah.
No, it's not. Not at all. Thankfully, it came out. I will take an ugly win over a pretty loss any day. Just had that in the Real Talk Niner Talk segment I was doing right before this program over on their channel. Getting Neil coming in here. Niners ranked 29th in special teams, has to improve. It was a tale of both sides in this past game and for the last 2 weeks. Robbie Gould deserves a hero's welcome for filling in as a punter 2 weeks ago, and now for hitting 3 clutch kicks that were all needed in order to get the win. Let me give you a little solace in that there are very few teams in the NFL with worse special teams units than the 49ers. The Packers are one of those. They are dead last in special teams. If it's possible to be any worse than the 49ers, the Packers have done it. And so, again, as it comes down to looking at balanced teams here, the 49ers get the edge there, although just by a little, and it shouldn't give us too much solace.
Yeah, I mean, Robbie Gould would be one of my stars of the game here if we did that segment, because his previous long on the season, I believe, was 51. He hit 2 from 52 and another one from 40. So some deep bombs for Robbie for Gould. For Goldie there, he got the golden foot. But, you know, I don't know if this is true because I haven't seen it, but I heard a reporter say that Shanahan literally told the special teams that, hey, just don't blow this game for us. I don't want you guys to lose the game for us. Fair catches. Don't try to be a hero. Don't allow any first downs on 4th down. And they couldn't do either of those things. It was kind of it was kind of poor. And we've talked about it a couple times that it's the third leg of the stool of the team, like field position and creating field position, whether it be punting or getting 3 points or returns is a big indication on giving both the offense and defense some breathing room. And they haven't really gone out and done anything. Instead of spending, I mean, I love Elijah Mitchell, but maybe this year on a 7th round pick, like get a kick returner specialist, right? Like,
yes.
All he does is play special teams. All he does is return kicks and punts, and that's what he does. And you see, like the Patriots, or I think his name is Slater. Like they've re-signed him over and over and over again because he's a special teams guru, and that's something that maybe they should take some pride in one of the later picks this offseason.
Yeah, we have got to invest in core special teamers. No question about it. I just want to throw up Ekim's stat here or suggestion, because I am going out to Green Bay, and Ekim came through in the clutch and taught me about this all-you-can-eat buffet that happens near the stadium, and I am all about it. Going to get me some bratwurst, all sorts of good stuff while I'm there. He also suggests to get those fried cheese curds and Spotted Cow beer while in Green Bay. I've had the cheese curds when I went to Minnesota. I look forward to having more of them when I get to Green Bay. Can't get enough of fried cheese.
Hey, cheese curds are good, and for all you people in California, Dust Bowl Brewing in the middle of California, they are also own Hillmore Cheese, and so at all their breweries, you can get some really good cheese curds there. So all of you in the Bay Area, Dust Bowl Brewing.
Yes, I'm all for a cheese curd update. Chris Royal, one of our sneakerheads on the channel, coming in here. All I know, my dude, 0 points in the second half can't happen in this game. Green Bay will get their points, and we need to match them if needed. Yeah, the Niners only scored 7 in the second half against Dallas. You know, it proved to be enough, but it was just barely. I agree that the offense cannot go stagnant in this one. They've got to be able to keep the ball moving, preferably on the ground. This one sets up to be 30, 40 carries in an ideal situation for me, and we'll talk about the Niners focusing on that run a little bit later.
Yeah, I think it's something that we've talked about multiple times where we see these masterful symphony drives where it's like, man, this is like the best offense I've ever seen. And then they go 3 and out punts here and there. And I'm with my boy Lee Ving up there, poutine over cheese curds. Got to get that gravy in there.
Ooh, got to get that poutine in there. Good stuff. Got to get that in there. All right, let's move on to the next topic here, talking about Deebo Samuel. We should always be talking about Deebo Samuel. The fact that Deebo called out to Kyle before his rushing touchdown after the K'Wan Williams interception, called his shot, said, I got this, then took it 26 yards for the touchdown. huge role. Just a couple of people talking about it today in the presser. Mike McDaniel says, I've been doing this a long time, and I've never, ever, 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 ever been around a football player that called his own shot. That was a special moment that only a special player could do. I mean, in my mind, absolutely huge. That mindset is critical. It sets the tone. It reminds me of the pregame video that came out of Niners coming out of the locker room with that boombox thing that some dude carries next to him. And it's not Jimmy Garoppolo out in front, as it might be for most quarterbacks wanting to lead their teams out. No, it's Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel in the front, because they are the physical tone setters for the offense. To me, this is, Deebo getting in some sort of a crazy physical mindset and just willing this to happen. And it's special.
I mean, they're the two All-Pros on our team. I mean, obviously Bosa got snubbed, but they're the two All-Pros on the team. They're also the most in vocal leaders, I think, with the fan base on Instagram. Trent Williams had that documentary come out. And so they've been most in the forefront in this season. I know Kittle's the long time, probably vocal captain there, but this year it's been Deebo. It's his been year. It's Trent Williams had the best season by tackle probably ever. And so you're looking at something that they come out and they have that swag, right? We talked about swag is important. The Hot Boys in 2019, you have those identities as a team that people can rally around. And that boombox gives that team some swag coming out into the game.
Yes.
And for most of the games, we've come out and hit people in the mouth for the most part. And then we stall in the middle of the game. Jimmy has a heroic drive most of the time at the end of the game, and it becomes close. But for the most part of the season, we hit people in the mouth when it comes out. So, whatever they need to do to get it done. But yeah, Deebo right there, give him the rock. I mean, he's the second receiver ever to have over 50 yards rushing and a touchdown since 1950 for a receiver. He had 100 total yards. So you got to love the trust that he has. And Deebo said, hey, I trust Kyle. Whatever he dials up, I'm down for it. Like if it's running back, if it's wide receiver, if it's kick returner, if it's whatever he needs from me, I'm ready to dial up and take it to the house. And that's the kind of swag you need from your best player on offense this year, that I'm willing to do anything and everything it takes to get that trophy.
Yeah. To me, this is a need that the 49ers actually have. I would hate to lose Mike McDaniel. That would be a significant blow to the run game design. And it's been genius this year. So I do not want to lose Mike McDaniel. That said, if we do lose Mike McDaniel, it is my assertion that we need much more of a Sean McVay type of energy in that offensive coordinator that replaces him. Because I think that this Deebo quote and fact calls to mind that Kyle operates better when he is calling plays from a place of confidence. And Deebo instilled that. And I do think that you saw that energy from the interactions between McVay and Shanahan. And I don't get that sense. I get the genius sense from Mike McDaniel, but I do think Kyle having confidence in those clutch moments, those fourth quarters where he has a lead in a big game, someone that inspires him to take the kill shot and to do the intelligent thing as opposed to shrinking a little bit or doing something out of character. I think this is needed. I think Deebo can provide it right now, and I think it highlights something that this offense in general needs more of.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could say that maybe Kittle and Juszczyk, but this year, like the number one trusted player has been Deebo, right? I mean, they didn't have trust in Aiyuk to start the season. You didn't have trust in Jimmy off and on for his entire tenure here, and so you're looking at the guy that they trust, and then I think they trust Elijah Mitchell more than anybody else in the run game because he gets over 25 yards or 25 carries a game, but to dial up a big play, when you need a big play, you need Deebo. Like they go to Deebo all the time for that. Yeah.
MILF Hunter coming in, agreeing with you on the trust factor for Elijah Mitchell, but stating it in a different way. MILF Hunter saying, Kyle treating Jeff Wilson Jr. like Breida, 0 carries. To me, this is what you're talking about, Randon. It is much more of the trust Kyle Shanahan has in Elijah Mitchell and less a reflection on a lack of trust in Jeff Wilson Jr. I just think he's leaning on the rookie as hard as he can right now.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't think that there's been a player on our team since in Kyle Shanahan's tenure that has been able to run the rock 25 times a game. And Elijah Mitchell's been injured for quite a few games this season, and so maybe he's not as sturdy as we think. But I think there's no other running back that I remember. I mean, Mozart's the home run hitter. That year they did it with Mozart, Coleman, and Breida. Breida's a home run hitter. Coleman has some wheels in his prime, and so it's like, Elijah, ran fast at the combine, but he's been treated much more as a bruiser this year, running a lot in between the tackles, and so like I believe that Deebo has been helping with that. And so generally you have 1 to 2 running backs. You look at the team that we're facing has Jones and Dillon, and they have pretty much equal stats on the season. You're looking at it's probably the Lightning Thunder, analogy that a lot of people use. Like, hey, we need a bell cow, and then we need a guy that can take it to the house, which you think would be 4-3 running Elijah Mitchell, but it's been Deebo Samuel this season.
Yeah, Deebo Samuel and those tree trunks that he has for legs. Gold-blooded coming in with the super chat, but I did find the question he meant to attach to said super chat. Damn it, he says. My question was, do you think Cannon will be returning kicks this weekend? Got a feeling he's going to break a big one. I think if he is active, he absolutely will. That's the question, though. Who you're going to have on the active roster from the 53-man becomes sort of a puzzle. And the 49ers, they're going to have Jeff Wilson Jr., Elijah Mitchell, and JaMychal Hasty active. The question will be, do they activate that fourth back? And if so, you've got a healthy Trey Sermon. I would be surprised if he were on the active roster. So you could see it being Trenton Cannon. And if he is active, I would guess that he probably does get those kick returns, because I'm not inspired by Travis Benjamin. That's not something that inspires confidence in me. So I can't imagine the 49ers are wild about that either.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to come down to Cannon over Sermon. Sermon wasn't active in this game, I don't believe. I think it's going to come down to Cannon or Benjamin. So do they believe Benjamin adds more in the pass game and special teams combined? Or is it going to be Cannon adds more in just the special teams area to make up for the loss in the pass game? We haven't seen much of Sherfield. I thought that as much as a lot of people did, he'd be the number 3. Jennings has moved up, had more receiving yards than Kittle in this game, has earned that trust with Jimmy Garoppolo. So maybe they go for, hey, like Cannon's going to give us more than the boost needed than from Travis Benjamin. It'll be interesting to see how they believe that coin will weigh out, or that scale will weigh out. But I think it's between Cannon and Benjamin, and who offers more to the team. And is special teams that important, or do we just not got to F up like they talked about this season?
Right. And they did get the ball to Benjamin, and it wasn't expected. Kyle Shanahan took advantage of it. I could see them making that choice. He certainly sees value in Travis Benjamin. No question about it. I saw an interesting, I'm putting this in. The Earth Devoured says that Rob Schuh, my wife thinks you have demon eyes, but we love you anyway. I mean, that says, like, when you can look into those demon eyes and still be okay listening to this voice. That's the first time I've heard that, quite honestly.
I mean, you're pretty far away from the camera. I mean, they kind of look black, and maybe some supernatural reference there where the demon eyes are black there. So a little nerdum from me, but who knows? Hey,
I do have a demon. That is true. I do actually have a demon. MILF Hunter coming in. Deebo is a leader. Watch the Deebo mic'd up 8-minute. I haven't seen the Deebo mic'd up. I will definitely go find that and watch it. He is just such an enjoyable individual to watch. So positive and so entertaining. It really is something to behold. All right, let's get into...
Both him and Williams are help the team stay loose, and then they back it up with their play on the field.
Yes, they do. Yeah, and that's so critical to stay loose in those big moments. Transitioning to the medical side of things, Bosa and Warner went down in the game. Obviously, it looked like Warner could have gone a little bit at the end there. He was at least testing it. He was at least active. But today, I got something encouraging from D'Amico Ryans in his presser. D'Amico Ryan says, Nick's come along well, and he is going through the protocol. Hopefully, he will be fine by the end of the week. We definitely need him out there. So that's the latest news on Nick Bosa. He is going through the concussion protocol. Fred Warner, I thought for sure that was an ACL. With the way he went down, with how he was clutching, I thought for sure. Done. I was saddened And then it turns out it's an ankle sprain, not even a high ankle sprain. And so it does look like he'll have a chance to go. If you had to say between the two, which do you think would be harder to overcome for the 49ers if they were unable to go on Saturday?
Yeah, before I answer that, and then Jimmy supposedly had a shoulder issue.
That's right. That's right.
The second quarter going on. But both Warner and Jimmy were at practice today.
Yes.
In some capacity. I don't think you can put a target on either of them, right? I mean, you got to give it up for the defensive line. I'm going to go into some big stats here in a second, but they answered the toll once Bosa went down. And then Greenlaw and Aziz have been playing big minutes or big snaps for the last couple seasons, whether it was if some, a person was injured or not, or they get the opportunity, they made some big plays, they've showed their moments. And so when Warner went down, I was like, okay, that's bad because I too thought it was season ending. But they stepped up, and then the defensive line stepped up really big this game. Let's drop these stats here. So first off, I want to say shame on to the Dallas fans that were in this bar who cheered for Bosa's injury. You don't cheer for anybody getting injured. This is their livelihood, trash. And that's garbage. And there was almost some fisticuffs flown through there, but I realized I wanted to watch the rest of the game. But yeah, you don't cheer on for injuries there. But let's get into the D line. They were the most dominant part of either team. The D line for the Niners was the most dominant part of either team. Dak got pressure 25 of his 52 dropbacks. Over 48% of his dropbacks, he received some sort of pressure. Out of all the pressures, 28% of those were considered quick pressures, which means they got to the quarterback within 2.5 seconds or less. A big game from Amanamehiu with 6 pressures and 1.5 sacks. So the 6th-round pick that we gave up for him was more than worth it in this game alone. And so the D-line just came up huge. And the fact is we were running a lot of 4-man fronts. One of the times that we blitzed was the touchdown to Cooper, right. and then we blitzed at the end of the game, and and luckily the throw was a little farther out, but I mean he could have dove and caught that ball, and so getting home with 4, allowing us to play good zone man coverages, whatever they call. Big ups to the defensive line, who I thought, like I said, was the most dominant part of this game for either team.
Yeah, it was remarkable to have that season high pressure rate without Nick Bosa in the second half. That really does show you what Chris Kosarick is able to do with those players that come in on prove-it deals. The acquisition of Charles Omenihu as well. It is remarkable the production that he's able to get. And I have to agree with, everyone in the comments as well, throwing it out there that between the two, if you were down one or the other, it would definitely be Bosa, that loss would be felt much harder by the defense. I know we were able to come through with that pass rush without him, but you get very thin when you're without Jordan Willis, who's lost to the high ankle sprain. If you're out 2 edge rushers, now the rotation is down. Guys are having to play more snaps. They're already on a shortened week. So I think the Bosa injury would be more critical to me. Not to throw any shade at Fred Warner. I just think that we're a little bit deeper there with the return of Alshire and Dre Greenlaw being back in the lineup, and then to have Marcel Harris, I think, healthy enough to go if he were called up as well. I just think that we have a little more there behind Warner to where we are protected from that loss. But I'm optimistic that they're both going to be able to go, and I'm optimistic that Jimmy G is going to be okay with that shoulder as well. That was another thing stated today. I believe Mike McDaniel put that one out there, that he expects Jimmy to look good out there on the practice field today. So it didn't sound like those injuries were too severe. They just get put out there, as a little bit of gamesmanship of, oh, Jimmy's not going to be able to do this. And then, in the first 15 scripted plays, he'll take some sort of a shot that is, going to take the top off of the defense or something in that nature to take advantage of the gamesmanship.
Yeah, we'll get to Jimmy later, but I mean, I think Bosa is interesting there. And then you saw Ryan say that the change in the culture of the defense was when Armstead moved from the outside to the inside,
yes,
and was able to formulate that role on a consistent basis. And so he stepped up big in this game as well.
He did. And that's a great transition. We are going to get to our next topic here. What has changed since week 3? But before we do, G.I. Jones coming in with a super chat. Rodgers looks intensely focused. We lose this one, 21-24 Green Bay. No faith until 49ers prove it. It's interesting to me to be so convicted. I'm assuming, G.I. Jones, that you are a Niners fan. It is a little strange to me to be convicted of a loss like that. I get it. I mean, you know, you certainly won't be the only Niner fan who believes that we don't have a chance in this one. I just cannot watch that first half against Dallas and not have faith that this 49ers team has the ability to absolutely come in and physically dominate the Green Bay Packers as they have done the last couple of weeks against good teams as well.
Yeah, I mean, I get where he's coming from, and it just depends. Like, we've allowed a lot of teams to hang around, and the one quarterback you don't want to allow to hang around is Rodgers, who has been to the NFC Championship quite often in the last 5 years. So, yeah, I mean, I think we got an overall better team than they do. I know the record doesn't prove that way because of the season. We haven't been as consistent, which is where Rodgers comes in. But, you know, if we let the team hang around, Rodgers can beat us just as he did earlier in the season in week 3.
Yes, he can. You cannot allow him to be there in the end. All right, so getting into what has changed since week 3. This came up in today's presser as well, talking to Brandon Aiyuk on the difference in watching the Dallas tape on how we just knocked off the Cowboys versus watching that week 3 Green Bay tape, that team that it feels like a lifetime ago. Brandon Aiyuk's answer in what has changed: a lot. Everything feels a lot different, looks a lot different. The whole offensive unit looks a lot better. We move as one. That growth has been crazy to watch. Obviously, Brandon Aiyuk is talking about the offense there, but it's fair to say that both the offense and the defense have changed significantly since that week 3 matchup. What are some of the biggest things that stand out to you, Randon, as far as changes from week 3 until where we are in the postseason?
I think the Niners are a completely different team. They have a different attitude. We mentioned it last week going into the Cowboys game. They're the best team after week 8, so they've had the best second half of the season. Even though it doesn't seem like that with some of the losses, like to the Tennessee that we had, it doesn't seem, or even some of the wins where we weren't as dominant. You know, Frank is the wins are wins and losses are losses, and we were the best team in the NFL in the second half. And so I think there's a lot of change. Mitchell has a more dominant role. He has more time on the field. He wasn't even, I don't believe he even played in that game.
He was out that game.
And so they didn't really rely on, you know, much of anybody else there, especially since Sermon was in the doghouse. And so, you know, running with a hodgepodge of running backs. You have Aiyuk was also in the doghouse. I think he's had over, did he have 90 yards this last game? Let me double check here. But I mean, he's been lighting it up for, you know, anywhere from 5 to 70 to 90 yards almost every week. He had 66 yards this last game.
5 for 66 this last week.
So you're looking at a team that's all around better. I still think you can get Kittle more involved. The secondary is more established with Ambry Thomas and Mosley back there and Ward and Tart, rather than having Norman and them bringing in a different guy off the street to train 1 week and then hope they can play well enough. Armstead moving to the inside. I think you're getting I think Greenlaw was out already by that time of the season, if I remember correctly. So now you have Aziz with more playing time. You have Greenlaw back. You have Warner that's, you know, most likely going to be there since he was limited today in practice. I think we got a completely different team there. I think their team is a little bit different as well. They'll probably have their best left tackle. He's questionable. Dillon wasn't as much of a figurehead in the offense that part of the season. And then if you look, and we're going to talk about their rushing game later, they're running a two-headed monster. Davante Adams had another 123, 1,511 season. And, you know, Rodgers is having a great year. I mean, he was in line for most people to win the MVP. So I know that was a lot of in and out there. I kind of rambled a little bit, so maybe you can pick on some points and establish a little bit more.
No, absolutely. I think that I'm going to put in here Randall Riley's comment here. We are markedly better than week 3. So how can anyone say we don't have a great chance? That sums it up to me. And to me, it is across the board. You said a couple of these already, but I'll go back through to reiterate the point. that Mitchell was out of that game, didn't even play. Brandon Aiyuk was still mostly missing in action at that point. He was still in the doghouse, hadn't gotten out. When you look at the first quarter of his season versus the second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, he just got more and more dominant as the season went on. His second half was much more fitting to his talent than the first. Alex Mack was a mess at the beginning of the year. People were talking about how much of a mistake it was to rely on a 36-year-old center. Since that point, he is much more dominant, locking down the middle of the line, in particular in pass protection. And Kenny Clark was a disruptor in that first game. He's still a stud. He's still a guy that we have to watch out for in this one. But I anticipate Alex Mack will be better suited to deal with him this time around. Deebo was just a wide receiver back then. He had 2 carries for 0 yards. They hadn't figured out how to get him involved in the run game. And on the other side of the ball, the Niners' run defense was totally suspect at that point in time. You point out that we had not yet shifted Eric Armstead and my man DJ Jones into the center to lock down that run game. Since week 6, since our bye, we have been the number 1 run defense in the league. And of course, you had Josh Norman starting at cornerback, and to swap him out for a surging Ambry Thomas is a significant upgrade, as evidenced by his inability to cover on that fake punt. And so, yes, I think it is a markedly different team, and I think that Green Bay has risen as well. They'll get Zadarius Smith back. They'll get David Bakhtiari back. They'll get Randall Cobb back. They are healthy, but they haven't been battle-tested in the way the 49ers have. So I do think both teams have changed markedly since that Week 3 matchup.
Yeah, I think it's completely different. There was somebody in the chat, I don't know if it was a super chat or not, but they asked about Ambry Thomas. I just looked it up. He has a bone bruise in his knee. Shanahan said he doesn't know what happened, or he doesn't know what play it happened on. It happened sometime during the game. It's just a bone bruise. We think he's going to be all right. Just not all right to practice today. So, I mean, they don't seem too worried about it, and we should see him start over Norman in this game.
That's a relief. Chris Royal coming in. Can we please get Wilson some touches? I would love to see it spread around, because typically when you get it to 3 backs, that means that we're headed toward 30, 35, 40 carries. But it seems that much like clutching tightly to Jimmy Garoppolo and not getting snaps for Trey Lance, it seems that Kyle Shanahan's trust is much higher in Elijah Mitchell than it is with anyone else. I don't know if that has anything to do with Jeff Wilson Jr. and the knee flare-up that we heard about a couple of weeks ago, but it is remarkable that he really has dropped off and is not getting any touches. If you're going to make a deep run, you would think you would need to balance that out a little bit.
Mitchell's a better running back, and they're getting rushing help from Deebo Samuel, and so I don't think you'd see him play much at all. And frankly, I mean, we talked about it a few weeks ago. Like, there's been 6 leading rushers this season, depending on the game. There's been a different leading rusher every season that Shanahan's been the coach there. I'm sure Shanahan just believes that he can put anybody back there, and if Mitchell's the one dominating, then he's going to get the touches. I know people have a soft touch for Wilson because he was the one. He helped us get to multiple wins and had good roles there the last couple of years, but Mitchell's a better running back, and he's been doing just fine.
Yeah, he definitely allows for greater flexibility in the ability to hit the edges. Joe Stull coming in, one of our sneakerheads here. What's up with Ambry? D'Amico talked about Norman starting due to an injury that he didn't get into much. Norman makes me more nervous than Jimmy G. I think that you're right to be nervous with Norman. When he was out there, I mean, it just was almost comical to watch him out there. You already touched on what the injury was for Ambry Thomas. Not going to look serious. I would guess that there's no question he's out there. But yeah, that would be a huge loss if you had to, at any point during the game, switch to Josh Norman over Ambry Thomas out there.
Yeah, supposedly they're getting Cobb back. You're going to have they have 2 good secondary receivers and one of the best receivers in the league. So having Norman, who couldn't even cover a special teams player on a design special teams coverage in the game, just doesn't bode confidence for anybody.
It does not. Let's transition over to one area that should provide some confidence for 49er faithful, and that is the ability to run the ball. The 49ers have been pretty phenomenal in the playoffs. It is exactly what they need to do against Green Bay. I want to credit Akash for this, throwing it out that on Twitter, that the Browns, in fact, provided the blueprint of how to beat the Packers there in snowy Lambeau, frigid, cold Lambeau. I'm not looking forward to being in those cold temperatures. It's going to be brutal. But they rushed for 219 yards on 25 carries, got that time of possession handled, and held Rodgers to 202 yards passing. Obviously, the Niners have had some experience in attempting to limit Rodgers in the past as well. Do you think that the 49ers are going to be able to run the ball at will in this one, Randon?
I think it's something it comes down to a couple things here. One, that in that Browns game, they have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, or maybe
yes, they do.
So Kareem Hunt was a top 5 running back on the Chiefs. Nick Chubb is a top 5 pure runner in the game. Not a great pass catcher, but pure runner. I would say top 5. You could maybe disagree with me on that, but I think their running game is probably more, as far as pure talent, is more ferocious than ours. But our offensive line is number 1 this season, according to PFF. Mitchell was, I think, 8th in rushing this season, missing all those games, and so we have some factor there. And then the Deebo factor creates some there. But I think where it comes down to is my second point is the game plan. Shanahan plays a huge factor in the run game. And if you look at what they did against the Cowboys, they ran 35% of the time they ran a power concept, which is not our bread and butter on the season. Our season average is 18%. So we ran a whole lot more power and power counter, pulling those guards, pulling the tackles, creating different looks. And you know as well as I know, normally to start the game, they're doing that crack toss to get to the outside to see if they can establish that outside zone. Well, they switched it up this game. And so what are they going to do to the Packers? I'm sure they'll probably look at that Browns tape and see what concepts they were running and see what their linebackers have to hold. I believe, if I remember the last time, we did the Packers update, their linebackers, were one of the weak points of their team in the middle of the field. And so maybe they do run more power is from, that we saw against the Cowboys, because we were able to get quite a few effective yards in the middle of the field.
Yeah, oftentimes that's a good way to minimize impact players, is run right at them, right? If Kenny Clark is one of their best interior pass rushers, a good way to slow him down is to get him caught up in the run game and run directly at him. And to your point of Kyle Shanahan playing a key role in this one, the 49ers have focused on the rushing in the playoffs. Nick Wagner, coming in via Twitter, threw out these statistics about the rushing stats by the Niners underneath Kyle Shanahan. The Niners have averaged 195.3 yards rushing per playoff game under Kyle Shanahan. Averaged 195. And of course, that's because of one outlier. It breaks down 186 versus Minnesota in the 2019 playoffs, 2020. 285 versus Green Bay. I think we all remember Mostert surfing quite a bit in that one. I've got a beautiful framed photograph of one of those touchdowns from Mostert hanging up in my man cave. And then 141 versus Kansas City in the Super Bowl, and 169 last week versus Dallas. So it becomes a focus, and you can certainly argue that Coach Shanahan wants to take the ball out of Jimmy Garoppolo's hands to some extent, but I think more importantly, he's leaning on what the 49ers do well. He's leaning on a recipe for success that if the 49ers can get churning, if they can get 4+ yards per carry on average, keep themselves in manageable third downs, they will start to win the time of possession. That will tire out the defense. It will keep their own pass rushers rested and on the sideline, keep Aaron Rodgers on the sideline. So I have to imagine that will be the game plan coming into this one, and it will be through a creative mix of Elijah Mitchell and Deebo Samuel, whether it is outside zone runs or inside power. I think you'll see it all. He will test them early and often and find that weakness.
And that's the game plan all the time. And sometimes to the disfactor of you and I think that we should still throw the ball a little bit in the second half to keep them honest and not just run, and keep up with the 3 yards in a cloud of dust. The creativity seems to go down. I don't know if it's because he doesn't want to give up the lead, but when you play to not lose, you're not playing to win. And so, the run game has got to keep the ball out of Rodgers' hands and not get the ball out of Jimmy G's hands, keep it out of Rodgers' hands, because he's the better talent, and run the football effectively is going to be something that we're going to need to do. And yeah, I mean, if we don't hit over 150 yards in this game, I don't see how we win it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Vinny Boy coming in here. This one I'm having a little trouble deciphering, but if Jimmy plays bad, a new injury, a sweepstake. So I think what the implication there, I think sweepstake is probably not the word that was intended to be there. Maybe it was talk to text. I'm guessing what it's implying here is if Jimmy plays badly, that there will be another mystery injury that pops up. It seems that 49er faithful are a bit frustrated by that you have a second half against Dallas that by most accounts was pretty atrocious. Even Joe Staley coming on and admitting that, yeah, when Jimmy goes back and watches the tape of that Dallas game, there's not going to be much positive he's going to pull out of that second half. But I don't view this as any type of a conspiracy theory. I think that you can go back and watch Jimmy get thrown down on the play. He said as much that as he's getting thrown down, he was never sacked, but he was thrown to the ground. He had the choice of putting his hand out to stop him and then injuring his thumb further, or just tucking it and taking the impact on his shoulder. He did that. I'm not going to use it as an excuse, but I'm also not going to get upset that just because he had a bad game, we're now talking about this shoulder. I think he's played through a lot of things for the 49ers, and so I'm not going to question his toughness or the validity of the injury, but I get the frustration from 49er faithful.
I don't know what step it is in like the grief counseling thing, but I've just come to an acceptance of what Jimmy is.
Yes.
And so it's just, when he plays bad, it's like, okay, that's Jimmy. When he plays really good and was in the first half was dropping dimes on the sideline, you're like, holy crap, that's Jimmy too. He's going to be both. And the consistency has always been his downfall. And so, and to be honest, like I always thought it might've been gamesmanship or whatever, but the fact is the Niners have been completely honest. If Jimmy's healthy or healthy enough, do we think he's going to start? So there's no difference this week, which he was thrown in practice. So I assume he's starting. I don't think this is hey, we need to play Trey Lance or whatever. Like they want to run the football. Like we said, if it's not over 150 yards and less than 25 pass attempts, I'll throw that in there. Then there's a good chance that we're leaving too much in the hands of Aaron Rodgers, which is what we don't want. We want to run down their throat and limit the turnover opportunities for Jimmy Garoppolo. And that's flat out how we played games since, we've been watching in the last 5 years.
That's right. And I do think it's fair to say that because Jimmy's practicing, that's pretty much 1,000% that he's starting. If you were going to put Trey in, you would want him to get every single practice rep that you could get him this week. Although I do hold out hope, rather foolishly, but I hold out hope that we will see some snap for Trey Lance where he adds value in these playoffs and stresses the defense. I'm not betting any money on it, but man, it would be sweet to see it, wouldn't it?
Hey, why not? Like, let's run something tricky, put two quarterbacks on the field, a little snap pitch to Trey Lance, roll him out, and then hit Travis Benjamin on the opposite side of the field, some receiver that nobody's going to cover regardless, and just go for it.
Yes.
No offense to Travis Benjamin, but they're probably going to cover.
No
Kittle,
offense
Aiyuk.
to Travis Benjamin, indeed.
Yeah. Just going for deception, my man. You're the fourth option. Let's go for the deception.
Raphael coming in here saying Packers are going to rush for only 66 yards on Saturday. I love that prediction, and I'm using that to take us into our next topic, flipping the script to the other side. The Niners obviously looking to run the ball, but so are the Packers. And the Niners will need to stop that run. It is a two-headed monster. It is the most dominant run defense in the league. I would argue that the Packers will be looking to remain a bit more balanced on offense, and it's interesting to view it that way. If you took an ideal game plan for Kyle Shanahan, he might tell you it would be 10 passes and 45 rushes, right? If he could get away with that, if he could limit Jimmy Garoppolo to 10 passes in the playoffs, I think he would. On the other side of the ball, that would not be the case. I think you would have a very upset Aaron Rodgers. I don't think you would want that type of vibe going on their sideline. So they're looking for a much more balanced attack, but it still is paramount to make them one-dimensional if you're attempting to limit their offense. So for me, the most important player on the defense this week is none other than my man, DJ Jones, coming through in the middle.
Sauce?
You know, any chance I get to put the barbecue sauce in the camera, I'm doing it. To me, it's the switch that happened in week 6 around the bye where we did put DJ Jones and Armstead in the middle has been the pivot point for the freaking entire team. And I've got to say that DJ Jones, both in stopping the run, because he's a big man, he's going to have to take down the big man across the way. And we'll talk about the big boy in just a little bit, A.J. Dillon specifically. But I think DJ Jones presents the unique dual threat where he is there on early downs to stop the run. But if you attempt to pass on early downs, which Rodgers and LaFleur most certainly will to try and fool the Niners, he is also capable of getting after the quarterback. And that's rare for a big man.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. And, I think this game possibly could come down to the trenches, right? I mean, Packers were top 10 in rush defense on the season. As far as yards given up, I don't have the touchdown numbers ahead of me, but yards per game, which is what we said they need to get to, 150, probably 160 or more. And so, like, they're good at taking it away. The Niners, like you said, are after the bye week are top in the league. And so it's just going to be battling there. You look at, and when doing research for this game on the Packers, when you sent me the topics for Dillon, I was like, what are you even talking about? Like, he's not even going to factor into this game as much as you think. And then I'm looking at him like he has more rushing yards than Jones. And I said he took advantage of the time that Jones has been injured this season, and they truthfully have a two-headed monster. And so I think it's going to come down to who can effectively establish the run first. The only difference is that the Niners need to establish the run to benefit Jimmy Garoppolo. And when you said Aaron Rodgers is perfectly fine throwing the ball 50 times a game if that's what they need to do.
Yes. He might prefer that. Hell, LaFleur might prefer it as well. I thought that D'Amico, again, summed it up very nicely today in the presser, saying the biggest turnaround for our defense has been Eric Armstead's move inside, pairing him up with DJ Jones, those two, and their ability to stop the run, making teams one-dimensional. I realize that doesn't give you certainty that you'll hold Rodgers because, hell, you make the Packers one-dimensional. That one-dimensional is still A-Rod. He still has the ability to torch you, but that's how you start, and then you got to get after him. Joe Stahl coming in with the super chat. NFL should get Montana to announce this game after we had to listen to Romo's biased BS for the Cowboys game. I was texting with my dad, as I often do during games. My brother, my dad, and I have a text thread going, and he could not stand the homer calls from Tony Romo. I didn't notice it at first, but after my dad called it out, I couldn't unhear it. It was as if he was a cheerleader for the Cowboys. And as a comeback started, man, I was getting irritated for sure.
I was at the bar and too busy talking trash or getting trash talked to, so it wasn't as bad for me. And it's unfortunate because I think Tony Romo is probably the best, or if not top 2 or 3 in the game to announce games. I'm more of a stat analysis type guy. And so like I thought he provides the kind of content that I enjoy. It might not be for everybody, but yeah, maybe they should look at that more. I know it's like the referees get the best games, the top referees get the best games or the most quote unquote important games.
Right.
And so the same thing happens for announcers, right? If this is going to be the most watched, which it was, you want to put your best talent out there, and Romo got paid big time to announce, to be an announcer. And so, he's going to get the game, or maybe he got the choice of it. I don't know, but maybe they should look into that of the league and not having ex-players announce, their own teams. Because the stuff that I did hear, it was kind of like trying to make Cowboys fans feel better about the situation going on.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're not as bad and we're close and this is not. And then when reality in the first half, we were just kicking them right in the face, and it wasn't being announced that way.
Yeah, I tend to agree, and I saw here Gold-Blooded calling it correctly. Romo was okay for the first 3.5 quarters. Then he went full Dallas Cowboy cheerleader. It definitely felt that way, and he was, hey, it's not too late. And part of that is him trying to play up the game's not over, and so don't turn off your TV. And man, he was actually very right. about that, unfortunately. Well, let's get back into stopping the run and talk specifically about A.J. Dillon, otherwise known as the Quad Father, because the man has tree trunks for legs even bigger than Deebo Samuel, tackling the big boy. So it's going to be cold. It's going to be single freaking digits. I'm looking into this heavily because your boy's going to be in the stands freezing his tuchus off. I'm going to layer up. I'm skinny, and so I need like 12 layers of freaking clothing on to trap in the body heat. A.J. Dillon is 200.
And you got nothing up top either. You better get like a Russian hat.
No, I'm going to have full-on mask. All you're going to see is this. That's it. That's all of Rob that's going to be visible is just this little section and then a beanie on top and then a Niners beanie on top of that. I'm telling you, layers on layers, Randon.
If you got ski goggles, I'd bring ski goggles too, just in case it gets windy and you never know.
That's not a bad idea.
2 degrees with wind chill.
Covered?
Yeah, 2 degrees with wind chill. There you go.
And I didn't get to it earlier, but E. Kim has been giving me info about you can rent seat cushions because it's the freaking aluminum bleachers that you're sitting on, but you rent seat cushions there at Lambeau, pay like $6, and they give you a seat cushion to keep your bottom off of freezing cold aluminum. But A.J. Dillon is not a skinny dude. A.J. Dillon is 250 pounds of man, and he's going to be running downhill into 49ers defenders, and that's going to be hard to tackle in the cold. I mean, no doubt, it hurts more when it is cold and you have to hit somebody. It's going to hurt to hit a 250-pound back. You can't allow him to get rumbling into the second level of the defense. In my mind, Fred Warner is going to really have to step up in this one because he's a little bit of an undersized linebacker. And so you've got to hope that the 49ers can get to him, hit him at or behind the line of scrimmage, in my book.
Yeah, his quads look like an anaconda who just swallowed an alligator. Like, they're massive. Like, it's just, like, it's ungodly how big he is. And it's like what are you going to do with that? Like, you can't even hold both legs. Like, it's almost like you just got to, like, hit him as much as you can, or you don't want to wish for taking out ankles, but at what point, like, what are you going to do? And so, I mean, he's just a big boy. And like, you're looking like, I thought, coming into this, that he wasn't going to factor into it, but he's really taking it in, right? So if you look at the stats here for the Packers, Aaron Jones with 171 in 15 games. These are attempts. And then Dillon with 187, right? And at 4.3, Jones was 4.7. He's got 5 touchdowns. So they were literally the two-headed monster. And what we've seen, maybe not lately in football, but, those days of Jerome Bettis, Brandon Jacobs for the 2 Giants runs, when it gets to the fourth quarter, going and giving those bigger backs and just hitting those guys. Until we moved Armstead to the inside, we were a little bit smaller for an offensive line because we lost JV and Kinlaw. So, I think that you're going to see a little bit of both. Aaron Jones is the definite better pass catcher.
Yes.
And depending on the type of game that you're looking at, you might bruise it. I know that Jones is dealing with an injury. He's questionable in this game, so it might be all Dillon, and the Jones two-headed monster might not even be a factor.
Right.
But Dillon has answered the call, which most people who play fantasy football had him stashed on his bench all year, and was happy to play him when they could. But
yeah, he was the type that was a league winner, right? That you just had him stashed, and all of a sudden he became a starting caliber running back because of the Aaron Jones injury. My theory on this one is that they've been saving up Aaron Jones for just this very occasion, that it will still be a heavy dose of Aaron Jones with A.J. Dillon sprinkled in. And I hope that's the case because I thought that Tony Pollard was going to be the X factor for the Cowboys. And I think the Cowboys did the Niners a favor by not giving him greater carries. You saw him almost break off a big return in the kick return game against the Niners on Sunday, but that got called back by a holding penalty, one of many. I think the same is true for Dillon, that if the Packers sprinkle him in, he will be an X factor for this defense. My hope is they lean heavily on Aaron Jones, that the Niners can stop the run early and just avoid this entire conversation by forcing the Packers into being a one-dimensional team and really getting after Aaron Rodgers. And I would also say that I am comforted by the health of Alshire and Dre Greenlaw, and both being able to absolutely lay the wood. And that gives me some solace that they will be able to run up and hit these guys in the mouth early, tackle A.J. Dillon.
Yeah, I mean, and then even if he's the only running back active, he still has 34 receptions on the season out of 37 attempts, 313 yards, and he's had three big catches out of the backfield with a long of 50 yards this season. So he's a definite downgrade from Jones when it comes to the pass catching game. So if you see the Niners get up early in this game, we're probably going to see a lot more Jones if he suits up because he is that better pass catching back. But you late in those games when people are breathing hard and they need a 4th and 1 and 4th and 2, which is definitely over a 50% conversion rate, you're going to see Quadzilla in there or the Quadfather trying to get that extra yard with first down.
I think we got to make Quadzilla stick too, because that's equally as impressive as the Quad
him and
father.
Bosa the Quads will have to fight each other in a death match.
Yes, the Quad match. Flav comes in here saying, Richard Sherman said those that can't appreciate winning with Jimmy now have unrealistic expectations of Trey. Ultimately, they will crucify him as well when he doesn't live up to expectations. I agree. Flav, I think that's an interesting observation. I'm not familiar with Richard Sherman's quote directly, so I'm taking this from the way in which Flav lays it out here for us. But I do think Richard has been vocal in coming forward in support of Jimmy Garoppolo and stating that the locker room is behind him, that there's a reason guys support him. And I am all there for that. That I have read firsthand and believe it. And it's evidenced by no one coming out and having anything bad to say about Jimmy. Jimmy being the consummate teammate for the 49ers, and players, when they come to the podium, having nothing but glowing things to say about their quarterback. As is, I guess, expected, when you're in mid-season. But this is pointing to the fan base and the unfair expectations we have of either one of our quarterbacks. I think this statement is true. Whether Richard said it or not directly, whether this is paraphrasing or a direct quote is what I mean to say. I do think that there are going to be a whole lot of people that no matter what Trey does, no matter how good his first couple of games are, when he makes mistakes, they will be there ready to point and say, I told you so. And I just think that's an unfortunate statement of where we are as a tribalistic society and less of a reflection on Trey or Jimmy in any respect. Yeah,
I think people get now it's, with the social media age, it's all about you being right and holding receipts up to people instead of having like a objective thing. And I've said, I think the best analogy is it's a bad relationship. Everybody's been in a bad relationship. So we go 5-0 after trading for Jimmy G. Everybody thinks, this team's going to be dominant in 18. Boom, injury on a dumb play where he tried to get 1 extra yards by cutting it back inside. And then, so you're like, okay, that season sucks. And obviously he's better than Nick Mullins and Beathard. And then 2019, we had that historic season. And then, so 2020, I'll go, we're going to run it back. This is 19 2.0. Boom, injured. And then a lot of fans didn't like the fact that he didn't come back for the last part of the season, even though he was practicing with the team. We move up to 3, which shows a different, thing for Jimmy, blah. And so like this whole season, because we have the number 3 overall pick in the background instead of CJ or Mullins, any mistake, it's like, let's go to Trey. Any mistake's going to go Trey. And then now people want to have their receipts or whatever. Trey Lance is going to make mistakes next year. He is. It's going to be a fact. And so like to crucify the kid who has only played 2 games. And I mentioned again, he's the one of 4 players in the last 2 decades to play less than 4 games as a top 5 pick for a quarterback. And so, he's going to have to go through some pains there, but progression isn't always linear. So you're looking at, you're looking at something where he might make strides in the offseason that are better than what he could have got by playing in games. He could have go to another quarterback coach. He could do all those things. They could use the $27 million from Jimmy G to make the whole team around him better to where he thrives better. So there's a bunch of factors in there. I'm purely tired of this whole Jimmy talk. It's just exhausting. Yeah. Let's just enjoy the Niners that we're in the divisional round. We're having our 5th winning season in a long time. It's like for me, it's just, I just enjoy it. And I've come to peace with what Jimmy is. Right. I know I'm going to get really good Jimmy where he's dropping dimes. I know he's going to make boneheaded mistakes. I know that most games are going to be close and we're going to rely on the run. That's pretty much it.
That is an accurate assessment there, Randon. I couldn't agree more.
Just drink your beers and enjoy the game. Like, that's all I got to say. And then enjoy Trey Lance next week or next year.
Enjoy it. And I agree that progress will not be linear. Bay Area Niners comes in. What is a more plausible Sunday morning storyline if the Niners win? Number one, Niners take down number one team in the NFL. Or number two, Aaron Rodgers, number 12, still can't get back to a Super Bowl. I believe, much like the Dallas Cowboys folding and it being all about the penalties, the storyline will be about Aaron Rodgers. The Niners would not get credit in this one. It would be about him not being able to get it done because it's the juicier storyline.
Yeah, I agree with you. I know we got some other topics, so I'm just going to agree with you on that. I think the whole drama this offseason was Aaron Rodgers, and so it'll be talk about if he's staying, is he not going, is he happy with Green Bay, all that kind of stuff, instead of giving the Niners credit.
Amen to that. Below the Heavens says, are you concerned with Shanahan's ability to close out games? He damn near choked away the last Sunday, bad clock management. This goes back to what I touched on earlier with my poker analogy. Yes, I am concerned about it, but the more high-pressure situations that Coach Shanahan gets into, the more he will be numbed to the pressure, and that should lead to his ability to remain consistent, be himself, be his normal self, and stay within his bag. So I'm thrilled that we had a nail-biter, but we came out with the W, because that to me is the best of both worlds. Shanahan got experience in a close one that could have slipped away, but it didn't, and the Niners advance.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's pretty evident that he's made some mistakes in his young career as a head coach. And, you know, a lot of these things come to, like, hey, if it's 4th and 1 or 4th and 2, go for it. Like, the odds are over 50%. So take that decision out of your hand. Don't try to get too cute. Go for it. You know, like, you have the offensive line who's rated number 1 in the NFL. Just do it. And if it doesn't show to, unless you're pinned way deep in your zone, like, roll the dice on it, because obviously your special teams with your punt team or this and that isn't that great. Robbie Gould did some good stuff. I mean, I would say do that kind of stuff. And then the time management, you know, is going to be situational. You can't really prepare for every single situation, but he's definitely had some negatives in his tenure.
He certainly has. Those are areas for growth for the head coach. All right, let's talk a little bit about limiting Davante Adams. He went off in the last one, 12 balls for 132 yards and a touchdown. How do you actually contain him? Well, D'Amico Ryans today on facing Davante Adams. Somebody's going to have to make a play, and that's what it's going to come down to. Can we go up and make a play? See ball, get ball is basically what D'Amico is saying there. And I'm just glad that we do have Emmanuel Mosley and Ambry Thomas in this one. To me, it is going to be on some combination of those two to try and see if we can get that one needed stop. You can't stop Davante. You just got to try and contain him a little bit.
Yeah, it'll be dependent on what they want to do. Like, are they going to go the Belichick mindset and double him the whole game and make Aaron Rodgers throw elsewhere, which Aaron Rodgers has no problem doing, and they have two good running backs like we talked about. And so, you know, are they going to do that? Or are they going to rely on, hey, we have Mosley and Thomas who both play man-to-man better. They both are better corners than we had last time. So let's just roll the dice on what we normally play. Are they going to go 3 high? Are they going to go 1 deep or 1 high, play cover 3, which has been proven beatable? They're going to put a safety over the top. I don't really know. I mean, I would kind of say, hey, let's go the Bill Belichick type way. Just double team him the entire game.
Yep.
And make Aaron Rodgers beat you elsewhere. And just rush 4, because the Niners have shown that they can win by doing that and limit the blitzing. But what do you think?
I see it as a couple of steps. First, you make the Packers one-dimensional. Take away the run, force them into those more obvious passing downs so that you've uncomplicated the situation for yourself. And I think the 49ers defense sets up nicely to be able to do that. Then you're able to pin your ears back and get after Rodgers, sort of cutting the snake's head off, right? As opposed to attempting to worry about all of the receivers. You've got to hope that Bosa plays so that you get that pressure with 4 and you can keep guys guys back in coverage. But then with coverage, I'm with you that it's about bracketing Adams at times. It's about doubling him. It's about safety help. It's about throwing everything but the kitchen sink at him and rotate those bodies to see who's actually matching up with him best that day. Attempt to limit him, because I would much rather force Randall Cobb, MVS, any of those other guys, Lazard, to beat us. I would be pretty torn up if Davante Adams just goes off and he's unstoppable like A.J. Brown was for Tennessee, like Julio Jones was in 2019. The Niners have had their hearts ripped out of their chests by players like this, and that would be hard on me. So I would rather go the Bill Belichick route and throw frickin' everything at him.
If we can hold him for like 6 for 70, I'd be happy with that. Like, because
yes.
he's usually 10 over 100 yards and over 10 catches a game. It's just going to be depending on what they do there. And I think a lot of these players have earned it. Like you saw Ambry Thomas played it well in this game. Mosley had, I think, over 12 tackles against the Cowboys, like was definitely a top tackler in that game, not allowing a lot of extra yards. And so, maybe double them up and hope that you have it there and make other people beat you and rely on that front four. The defense has been a top rush defense. So rely on the front four, bracket their best player, and see if we can get to Rodgers. Where Rodgers beat us last time, though, is he outplayed those quick pressures, right? So quick pressure, what we said, is below 2.5 seconds. He was getting rid of the ball and over and right at 2.3. And then he has that mind meld with Davante. So
yes.
The one time that we slip and don't bracket him and he's one-on-one, he's going to throw the fade route to him every single time. And so it's going to be up. Eventually, big athletes have to make big plays. And there's going to be 1 or 2 times, if not more, in the times in this game where one of our corners is going to have to come up big on Davante Adams for us to win this game.
Man, well, I know that we have a hockey podcast that we need to get you to. So what we're going to do here, Randon, is fold our other topics into the last one, because we were going to talk a little bit about Jimmy struggling. We were going to talk a little bit about the cold weather, and I may hang out here and talk to the fans for a little bit after you have to go. But I think we can fit those into this topic because Jimmy struggles, the cold weather, they all factor into this last topic of getting past the frozen tundra, going beyond Green Bay, getting a win against the Packers to go on to the NFC Championship game. I believe this is going to be a close one, real close, and I'll throw in my prediction at the end there. But what are some of the factors you see going into this one, Randon, and how do you see it playing out?
Yeah, let's just reiterate what we talked about. I think we're going to need to get pressure with the front four. We need to get there in under 2.5 seconds because Rodgers is not afraid to get the ball out quick, and he knows where to go with the football. We're going to have to limit their best player in Davante Adams, or their best player not named Aaron Rodgers, in Davante Adams to less than 100 yards because the fact that he can take over a game at any moment. The secondary is going to have to play big in that aspect. We'll probably need to run for over 150, and Jimmy will have to throw for less than 25 times. The record isn't great. I think we're 2-6 when he has an interception, and so or any sort of turnover. So the rest of the team is going to have to come up big, and if Jimmy can limit the amount of bad plays and we can run down their throats, I see a W in this one. I think we are overall the better team. We're playing our best football when it really matters, and we just got to step on their throats in the cold because I think the fact that we've had great turnouts for Niners fans in both the Rams game and at Cowboy Stadium might not be as evident because the Packers usually don't allow other fans to come in there because of how tickets are passed down. It's a lot tougher. Rams have known to have a soft stadium for the most part since they've moved to SoFi. I've seen some games at Jerry World where it's over half the fan base. So I think it's going to be up to the Niners to carry their own confidence. I know there'll be some Niner faithful there, but you're going to have to hit him in the mouth early and often to take Aaron Rodgers out of this game.
I tend to agree with that. You absolutely do need to hit Rodgers early and often. I see Jimmy prime for a good game. He's coming close to home in this one. He's headed back towards his Chicago roots. He is, born in the cold. Aaron Rodgers may have gotten used to it over his career there, but Jimmy has that cold blood, and this one is going to be chilly. Again, we're going to let Randon go in just a second because he has to run to that podcast, but I want to be here to talk a little bit about that chilly weather and the fact that I'm going to be in it. But I do think that factors in that it is going to be cold, that you do need a quarterback who's going to be able to deliver. And I think the 49ers will have Jimmy Garoppolo dealing on those 3rd and shorts, but it will require that run game to get going. It will require them to have that run first identity. You rolled through all those things that are so critical for a victory. Like I said, I see this one breaking out really close. I still think the 49ers should be favored in this one because of the talent on the team, but I like those predictions that are between that 1 and 4 point margin of victory. Again, the key to the game for me is who's able to run the ball more effectively, in particular as it dips down into the low single digits. I go advantage 49ers in that respect. I think they get the run game going. I got this one breaking out 49ers 27, Packers 25.
Yeah, I think we win. I think it's going to be a little bit better than that. I think if we this is a big if we come out big and hit him where it hurts, I don't think we let him back in this game. I think we win by 10. So I would say 32-22, something like that.
Love it. Now, it is 6:17. Do you need to get going, Randon? You got that podcast.
Yeah, let's answer that super chat because he asked it to both of us.
Okay, great.
And then I'll bounce.
Love it. Everett Kramer, one of my favorites here, Ev. Love it. At Rob Schuh, bearded ones, or just Rob if Randon needs to bounce. Why do you think Kyle Williams rarely turns his head around when he gets taken deep?
So you're looking at where
I'm thinking this is K'Wan Williams that we're talking about. Yeah.
So you look at it's one of the hardest places to play, and so he doesn't have the corner expert Eric Crocker says he doesn't have that straight line speed, right? He has that short area quickness, and so when he gets beat with that slot fade, it's one of the hardest routes to cover. Reason being is that you have both levels of the field that you can go to. And if you're beaten, once you beat that person, the when you're covering, generally the fade is going to put you away from the safety. And so all you have to do as a quarterback is throw it to a spot and rely on your wide receiver to settle under it. And so, say the slot person's probably going to be maybe MVS or Lazard in this aspect. So if we got Ward or Tart double teaming Adams, you need to get in the face of that person. And so generally, Williams is already beat, so turning your head around ain't going to do anything because he's beat by a couple yards in that aspect. And so, that was one of the prettiest balls I've saw all game was from Dak Prescott to Cooper. We've seen it a couple times this season. And so it's just him getting beat. His skill set is short area quickness, which is what you see most slot receivers have and those slants and everything like that. And so you really want to limit that, and the deep balls are just going to be there. And so depending on the coverage that we have or that we're calling, you really need safety help over the top. And if he's too late to recognize it, the ball's already in the air, and that's pretty much a done deal at that point. So I think you saw it in the game. The coverage was the perfect coverage for them to try that route. They tried it. He beat him one-on-one, and Amari Cooper is one of the best route runners in the game. I know a lot of people give him crap, but he's still one of the best route runners in the game by most people's books. So.
Yeah, I thought it was, Amari Cooper making a hell of a play. K'Wan Williams in poor position because he's not the guy you want one-on-one on Amari Cooper without safety help over the top. He's much better against run defense, much better, to your point, short area quickness over the middle of the field, those in-breaking routes. He does have the ability to pick the occasional pass. So I think K'Wan Williams has his strengths. Defending the deep ball is not one of them. It is frustrating to watch a guy not get his head around because that sets up for the defensive pass interference penalties. Yeah. It'll be interesting. You would almost think that Rodgers will test this defense because he got a lot of PI penalties that last time around. You would think he would make sure that the Niners have improved in that area. And I would just hope from DeMeco Ryans' standpoint that he would protect K'Wan Williams a little bit more in this one. I think that was schematically a poor matchup for him.
Yeah, I think you're going to see, we've been talking about it for weeks. What the deficit of Jimmy Garoppolo is he doesn't take enough deep shots. Aaron Rodgers in multiple things is, hey, they're going to take at least one a game or one a quarter on purpose. So people are going to get tested this game. He's not afraid to throw it in tight spot because he can. I mean, he has. If you saw the comparison with him and Brett Favre for the same amount of touchdown passes, he has I think it was 80 less interceptions. Like, he doesn't turn the ball over very often, and he's able to make every throw on the field. I were to guess, I go back and forth on this all the time. He's probably the best pure thrower of the football that I've seen.
Yep.
While watching the sport. And so,
for my money, I agree.
And so you're looking at, he's going to be able to do that. Lazard is 6'5". Your MVS, I think, is 6'4". They both have good speed. Both receivers in the slot are going to give trouble to Williams. Whenever the Packers decide to dial up that play, whether it's on purpose or it's at the line of scrimmage by Rodgers, you better hope that Ryans has the right coverage, because you're going to need safety over the top.
Yeah, you need Ward or Tart over the top. All right, I know you have that podcast. I'm going to let you go, Randon. Thank you, as always, for being on. I'm going to hang out here for a few more minutes, get to that last super chat, and get to the last topic. Always a thrill, man. We will see you on the other side of this one, where the Niners will be on to the NFC Championship Game.
W's, baby.
Yes. Always a pleasure, Randon. All right, let's get into this last one here. Make sure that I get that banner up there to make sure that we are looking good here. Got to get the little boop. There you go. There you go. Get that icon in there. All right, Niner by Nature 88 coming in. Do you think all of these outside interviews are distracting our coaches from focusing on the game instead of their next job? Is Kyle preparing for the L? The last part of that, no. Kyle is preparing for the W, because that is what we are getting on Saturday. I do think it is tough to balance these interviews. I enjoyed what Mike McDaniel said today, which is, hey, everything we do to prepare for this moment goes into wanting to be in the playoffs. Everything we do on a daily basis throughout the season, throughout preseason, going back to off season, is for this moment. So I am focused on nothing other than the next game against the Packers. That's exactly what you want to say. That's exactly what you want to hear from your offensive coordinator. But it's also a bit of a lie, because, he is making plans for these interviews. He does need to prepare for them. He does need to allocate some portion of his time to it. I believe him when he says what his priorities are. But is it somewhat distracting? Yeah, I would think so. I would think to some degree it's a distraction for both DeMeco Ryans and Mike McDaniel. But they both strike me as being singularly focused and the type of individuals that can, for the most part, put that noise out of their minds and be able to focus on the task at hand. And this task at hand is a big one, and it comes with its own motivations. The 49ers have owned the Packers in the playoffs for a while now, and they want that trend to continue. Think back on Handshake Gate from week 3. Think back on the passion you see from Kyle Shanahan, the, I don't want to say hatred, but disdain about talking about LaFleur and that handshake. So I think that there is no love lost there. I think everyone's got the proper motivation to pull this one out on Saturday. Come on Friday, coming in, Jimmy will have a great game. Only concern should lay on secondary and special teams. No one on this team can guard Adams in man, and Rodgers eats up zone. I do think that's the critical component to this one, is how the 49ers guard Rodgers and Adams. How do they contain those two? With Rodgers, it's about chopping off the head of the monster. It's about getting to the head of the beast and hitting him repeatedly. You can see him get frustrated when he is hit continually. Not sacks, just necessarily quarterback hits, literally making contact with the man. It would be great to drag him down for a sack. It would be great to get that sought-after sack fumble. In a game like this, a sack fumble could be the way that the tide is turned. But I do think it's about attacking Rodgers. You don't have the man. You don't have Ramsey. You don't have anyone that can lock down Davante Adams. You've got to bracket him. You've got to use double coverage. You got to have safety help over the top. It's got to be a complete team effort. And a lot of that, to me, has to come from being able to get pressure and sack Rodgers. That is critical for my money. All right, I wanted to get into a topic before finishing here, just about the cold. The cold, holy shit, the cold. Just because I am going there. I meant to bring down my parka that I'm going to be wearing. I will show it off on the channel so you guys know what I'm going to look like going into it. But admittedly, I'm a little bit nervous about it. I've got a lot of clothing, a lot of layers that I'm going to throw on. But I want to know, for any of you that are going out to the games yourselves, I want to know, where are the meetups? I want to know, what are you doing pregame? What are you doing postgame? What sort of tricks are you using against the cold? Throw it in the comments. Throw it in the chat here. Hit me at 49ersmailbag at gmail.com, 49ersmailbag at gmail.com. I want to know where people are preparing to meet up, where they're going to be, where they're watching the game, what section they're in, because it's going to be cold, and I'm going to need some like-minded Niner fans to be able to talk to, because I will be out there. I will be bundled up like the kid in Christmas Story, where he can't even put his arms down because his freaking jacket is too thick. I want some suggestions on places to eat in Appleton or Green Bay. Like I said, I already got some great feedback from E. Kim. Let me know about the buffet right by the stadium. Let me know about the rental of the seat cushions. But this one feels like high stakes poker. I need all the relevant information. So I had to take this moment to ask all of you for your input on that. I'm going to look at the comments and see if anybody has real-time suggestions. But again, reach out to me offline if you have any relevant information about what to do in Green Bay, where to eat, where to get the best cheese curds. Because you know your boy wants some delicious cheese curds. All right. I want to check. If you're answering me here, hit the @Rob or @RobSchuh in the chat. I am going to scroll through these last few comments just to see if anybody has given me good insight. Potbelly's Ornament saying, @RobSchuh, dude, be sure to take a blanket. It will be a lifesaver. I'm telling you, like 6 or 7 layers is what I am looking for. 6 or 7 layers. I got a nice jacket I'm throwing on. You know, I got insulated under gear. I got the long johns, you name it. You name it, I got it. All right, here we go. Alrighty O'Reilly saying, hey, Rob, go to lot 1. That's another thing. Where do I want to park? Can I park in lot 1? Alrighty O'Reilly says, go to lot 1. I'm assuming that is for some sort of a get-together. Percy also saying, go early to lot 1 and drink like a champion. Maybe that is where the all-you-can-eat buffet is. That would be fantastic as well. Everybody talking about lot 1. I'm telling you. Matthew Mears, one of our members of the channel. Oh, no, not a member of the channel. Sorry, Matthew. @Rob, take some videos and post them when you're at Lambeau Field. I most definitely will. I will put those on the community tab on my YouTube page. Going to get some videos in. Although I would guess that I will be reluctant to take my gloves off to shoot any of the videos, because that will be frigid, very frigid. George asking, when am I flying out? I fly out on Friday. So my usual streaming schedule on Friday may be disrupted a little bit. I am usually with Grant Cohn on his channel at 11 a.m. I will probably need to change that because I will be in the air at that point. I will definitely need to put that out there. Sorry, just looking to see if there is, in fact, spam on the chat. Doesn't look too bad there. Doesn't look too bad. But yes, we'll definitely need to reschedule for that one. And I will look to have my own show as well. So look for stuff on my channel. Follow me on Twitter if you want to know when I'm going live Friday. All right, this one's a good one. I like these insights. @RobSchuh, eat at Kroll's West. Go Pack Go. It's a good recommendation when it comes from a Packers fan. Luke Walsh coming in @RobSchuh. There is no such thing as bad weather. There is only bad clothing. Sven, the deranged Viking smoothie salesman. I will be wearing good clothing, no doubt about it. Ryan coming in @RobSchuh. Fleece beanie, wool socks, thermal long sleeve shirt, and pants underneath your regular clothes. I like that recommendation. Layering is paramount. paramount is what I am gathering there. Layering the clothing is critical. Another mention of Kroll's West. Kroll's West. I need to remember that. Percy, LOL, at Rob Schuh. You're going to look like Michelin Man, right? Beside the Green Bay fan with a bare chest like a man. I will be the Michelin Man in that regard. I do not envision myself trying to go bare-chested, as you do see many fans in the stadium who clearly live in the cold weather attempting to do. I love the fact that we've got the Packers fans in here attempting to put in some freaking trash talk, a little bit of healthy trash talk, but it's respectful. That's what I hear about the Packers fans, is that they are very respectful, and I love fans like that. I really do, because that's how I try to operate. Ellis10, at Rob Schuh, you will be good, sir. Warm socks, warm gloves, and a good beanie, and 3 layers, sir. That sounds like a recipe for success. Ooh, here we go. Alrighty, O'Reilly says, at Rob, visit Green Bay Packer Hall of Fame and see all the Lombardis. I would love to see that. I love the history of the NFL, even if it is a different team. That's for sure. All right, looking to see any final thoughts here from the faithful or the Packer fans. Don Juan, at Rob Schuh, safe travels. Let's get this W. Go Niners. Thank you. Thank you very much. George, at Rob, I'm jealous, my man. Have a blast. Hope the stands are full of red at Lambeau. Please do a before the game video of the stadium. I most definitely will. I will do a pregame show from my room, from the hotel room, before I travel out there, so that you have something from me the day of. And then I will do some shots of the stadium to get that, in the history books, to get some proof that I was there. All right. Please hit me up. Again, send information to 49ersmailbag@gmail.com about anything I should hit while I'm in town. For all of the Packers fans in the chat here, let me just say one more time, the final prediction, 49ers bring it in this one. 49ers are the more physical team on Saturday. That's my prediction, that they come and are punching in the mouth, that they are able to run the ball, establish that run-first identity. Jimmy Garoppolo limiting his throws to those third down completions, high percentage passes, and the 49ers walk out of this one with a victory, 27-25. That is absolutely my prediction, and I finally got the spammer. I finally found and muted the spammer. That's the way to end this one. That is the way the Niners win, by finding and snuffing out those spammers. JT Conlon with the prediction, 35-28, Niners win. Giancarlo, at Rob Schuh, I'm a Niners fan, but am not confident about this game. We need Lance. I disagree. I believe that the 49ers will be just fine in this one, that we will absolutely be able to run the ball, and that Jimmy Garoppolo will deliver the way in which he did in the first half against Dallas, and not what we saw in that second half. I think the Niners are playing with nothing to lose at this point. Jose coming in 41-33 Niners at Rob Schubert. He says, paint your face and body with Niners colors. Be a man, LOL. I love it. I love that energy. We will be showing out. Yes, we will. My hope, Nesto, with this one, no, that was a different one. Your own QB doesn't like the Packers. Ooh, that's a shot at Aaron Rodgers, isn't it? Don coming in, though. How are you going to handle the hecklers, Rob? I think it's, from what I'm told, a very respectful fan base. The best fan base I ever saw was the Carolina Panthers. Went out there for a playoff game. The Niners got that win as well, and they were very, very respectful. I hope that's the case in Green Bay. Raphael coming in, at Rob, save that ticket. It's going to be a classic game. Niners winning 28-24. 24. All right, it's been a pleasure here today. I appreciate all of you being here with me. I will be on a special appearance on Ben Camperman's program over on the Camper Report at 7 o'clock, and I will be back on my channel tomorrow. Got the Sneakerhead call-in show at 4 p.m. and looking to bring on a Green Bay Packers podcaster tomorrow, a last-minute edition. May even get in another show with Aaron from 49ers First Takes. We are definitely pumping out the content as we head into this critical matchup against the Packers. Until next time, cheers, Niner faithful.